Hi there, I'm Margaret. Join me for a deep dive into the life of a freelancer. I share my clients' struggles and successes and celebrate those moments that make it oh so worth it. This is Freelance Freedom. Welcome to episode 1. My name's Margaret and I'm your host of Freelance Freedom, and this is my origin story. I thought no better place to start than the beginning, so let's go back, all the way back. I was born in a small city just outside Toronto. Well, it's not small anymore. Every time I go back, I barely recognize it because of all the developments, but it's called Burlington, and it's a typical suburb where the entertainment as a teen would consist of underage drinking at local fairgrounds, going to pool halls, all ages nights, and going to see live bands, many of which became quite successful, but I digress. I went to local elementary and high school at a Catholic school close to my house. And one of my earliest classroom memories was sitting in grade 3, and while being assigned homework, I asked, why do students do all the work, but teachers get all the money? Well, I was promptly sent to the principal's office for talking back, but it was in that moment that my entrepreneurial spirit first shone through. By the time I hit high school, it started to come out in different ways that today I'm not so proud of. So I worked at a health food store. It's a fairly big chain, but I won't mention the name of it. I worked there part-time, so that meant evenings and weekends. It also happened to be the place where all the bouncers from the neighboring clubs and bars would come in to get their protein powder and supplements. And after seeing them a few times, I definitely became pretty good friends with them. It was then that it dawned on me. What do they do when they confiscate people's IDs at the bar from having a fake ID or an ID that definitely doesn't belong to them? Well, turns out they just have a pocket full of IDs, big stacks of them. Well, I also had friends that were in need of IDs too. So I put 2 and 2 together, just met supply with demand, and boom, there you've got a business. It's not something I'm proud of, but I definitely saw the opportunity. I also worked part-time since I was 13 years old in more respectable jobs. So I've worked as a barista, I've worked in retail, and I've been a server as well. And these served me well. I've been able to work all through university and pay for it at the same time. I've always had an intense work ethic and enjoyed reaping the benefits of what I've been able to accomplish. After high school, I went the traditional route of university, studying human physiology with a major in neurophysiology. I went on to complete part of my master's with the intention of becoming a doctor, specifically a surgeon, plastics or neuro. But those plans were soon foiled when in my 3rd year of university, my dad got sick. On December 17th, less than 10 days before Christmas, my dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor, a glioblastoma multiforme, to be exact. My dad was my biggest supporter and probably my biggest influence to date. He was obsessed with computers, always playing computer games. He wasn't technically trained, but he was a mechanic and understood the moving parts of it. So we would constantly play video games together. He set me up on one of my first computers. I think it was a Compaq, which was anything but Compaq. It was one of those ones with those orange screens. I don't know if I'm dating myself or if you guys remember, but that was one of my fondest memories growing up. He was my ski partner and my best friend. During his illness, I saw behind the curtain about the functionality of how hospitals run. And although I was fascinated with the science, the politics and limitations in place did not bode well with me. I also got a lot of opportunity to reflect on life and how I can make my biggest impact. I knew med school was not the answer. Also, medical school is super expensive, and I didn't want to finish school being hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. 3 months to the day of his diagnosis, my dad passed away. During this time, I had already begun to build businesses. During university, I was a fitness and boot camp instructor, actually even during high school. I was 18 when I got my first fitness certification and started training my friends and my friends' parents in my spare time as well. I kept my hustle going strong by taking these side gigs, as well as working in restaurants and retail and anything I could in my spare time. After university, I did a nutrition program. In retrospect, it was that decision that changed my whole trajectory. I went on to work on a Canadian culinary show and ended up doing the research for the show and making edits to the company website. That was the moment I was hooked. There was something about the instant gratification of changing a line of code and having it work instantly. I was sold. From there, I began making websites basically for free for friends and family. And from there, I started to charge clients $200 to $500 for their websites. And after that, I narrowed my niche and doubled my rates and doubled my rates and doubled my rates. So here we are, 7 years later to today. Now there's a lot of stories in between. And as you can imagine, they have episodes all on their own. And there's so much stuff I've learned along the way that I'm excited to talk to you about. But first, I want to tell you a story about something that happened today, like actually today. So I was going on my bike ride along Lakeshore as I normally do. And along the way, there's a set of swings, which I always stop at, because why wouldn't you stop at swings when you see them, especially when they're empty and you have a beautiful view of the lake? So I stopped at the swings, dumped my bike beside them, and hopped on. I then saw two people walking towards me, a woman in her mid-30s, had a baby carriage, and a man probably in his mid-60s. Being in my mid-30s myself, it's rare to see someone my age on a set of swings, but I think it gave her permission to do the same. She handed over her baby carriage to the man she was walking with and came over and joined me on the swings. We had a brief conversation, and the man turned to me and said, "I'm so happy just to see you enjoying yourself on the swings." He said, "You know what everyone says? They said you only live once, but it's not true. The reality is you live every day, but you only die once." She promptly got off the swing and they walked away together. It's an amazing story and just something that I wanted to share with you guys that happened today. Now here we are. All the next episodes, we're going to go back and I'm going to share with you the last 7 years of growing my freelance business into a full-fledged web development agency. Buckle up, because it's been and going to be a bumpy ride and I wouldn't have it any other way. So now, like a lot of the episodes coming up, I'm going to give you some homework. I don't want to leave you empty-handed, so I'll be giving you resources at the end of every episode, sharing a link as well as putting the link in the show notes on the website as well. So here it is. This homework's only 3 questions. Wherever you are on your freelance journey, just take 5 minutes to answer these. It'll give you massive clarity and set you up for ultimate success. The 3 questions are, who are you? What do you do? And how do you do it? So these questions will lead you into more questions down the road, but I want to keep it really simple for now. Who are you? So we're asking you about your identity. How do you explain your identity to other people and potential clients? What do you do? How are you of service is another way of asking that. And if you don't know how you're of service, you don't have a business. This is probably the most important one. How do you do it? What sets you apart from everyone else out there? Now you can write these questions down and answer them for yourself, but I've also included a downloadable PDF in the show notes, which you'll find on the website inside the notes below the recording. Download them, and once you've answered them, feel free to tweet me or slide into my DMs and let me know your answers. On that note, I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. As always, I love to keep the conversation going. So head over to Twitter or Instagram at Margaret Fell. That's at MargrefFell, and tag me or slide into my DMs with any questions you may have. You can also find me at my home base of margrefell.com for all the resources. I'll see you next time.